Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. A coalition of civil society organizations are asking Nigerians to start asking elected public officials to fulfill their campaign promises as well as set agenda for whoever becomes the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission in the new dispensation. According to them, the successes of an election does not automatically guarantee the citizens a better government that delivers honest promises to the people. They're also asking the masses and the media to be vigilant and set agenda for the government while ensuring that it delivers on its campaign promises.
Media and civil society organizations played very critical roles during the just concluded 2015 general elections. Going forward, at this forum in Abuja, some members of the civil society groups want the public and the media to remain active and ensure that elected public officials deliver on their campaign promises.
When people win elections on a popular mandate, especially when the situation of the citizens is despondent, they have more tendency to be wicked and more dangerous. So this is the time as journalists and as CSO people for us to be more serious, more dogged in defense of freedom and democratic rights.
All aspects of these elections were engaged by the civil society. And at the end of the day, we all are living witnesses to what has happened. However, the building of a new Nigeria cannot begin and end with a successful election.
Other issues the group also want the public and the media to lend their voices to are those about electoral reforms.
The argument for independent candidacy is something that we cannot take away. It's very, very important that we begin to push that I do not need to belong to a political party to, aspire. And don't think that Nigeria is the only place that happens. Ghana is a multi-party democracy, yet it has independent candidacy. America, I told you, has 400 political parties, yet there are independents. So those independents are people who, look, I've worked in my community, they know me, they love me, I don't need to belong to a political party. So those are some of the issues that we said it, that politicians will not promote reforms if we don't engage in it.
The whole process of agenda setting for the incoming INEC leadership, we don't know who the INEC, the next INEC chairman will be, but we're not really interested in individuals. We want to see how the institution itself will be able to address the various issues, logistics. From legal architecture, we can also talk about the complaints INEC made about not being in control of the security architecture.
It's been over 2 weeks since May the 29th when the new government was sworn in. Civil society organizations and other political watchers are monitoring to see how it will deliver on its campaign promises to the citizens.
A federal high court sitting in Lagos has lifted the restraining order preventing the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission from arresting and prosecuting chairman of Bi-Courtney Highways Services, Mr. Wale Babalaki. In a ruling delivered today, Justice James Soho said the ex parte order granted Babalaki had outlived its lifespan and was no longer valid. He explained that it had been intended as a brief intervention to prevent injury and not meant to last indefinitely. Counsel to the FCC, Mr. Rotimi Jacobs, a senior advocate of Nigeria, had asked the court to vacate the restraining order, which, according to him, had been abused by the applicants. He accused them of foot dragging and failing to file the application within the 5 days interval ordered by the court. But the defense counsel, Mr. Abiodun Layonu, also a senior advocate of Nigeria, argued that the respondent must abide by the order of the court and urged the court not to grant the prayers of and to discharge the order. After listening to both arguments, Justice Soho advocated the order and adjourned hearing to June the 29th. He, however, urged the respondent to stay action on any other proceeding that will frustrate the case. Looks like a busy moment in courts today in the country as former governor of Adamawa State, Murtala Nyako's bid to prevent his arrest may have hit the rocks. A federal high court in Abuja today refused a prayer by the ex-governor seeking an order restraining the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the police and the Department of State Service from arresting him. Mr. Nyako was reportedly quizzed by the EFCC for over 8 hours after he surrendered himself to the Commission on June the 2nd. The governor had filed an application for an interim injunction restraining the EFCC and other security agencies from detaining him over a case of alleged financial malpractices. However, Justice Ahmed Mohammed refused the application and asked Mr. Nyako's lawyer, Mr. Olukoya, to put the other parties on notice by serving the court processes on them. In the meantime, the Chief Justice, Mahmoud Mohammed, has read the Riot Act to the newly appointed justices of the federal and state high courts, as well as Qadis of the Sharia Court of Appeal, on their conduct as they begin their work as judges. Justice Mohammed vowed that anyone found wanting will be severely dealt with. He urged the newly appointed legal officers to ensure that they not only dispense with cases speedily, but ensure that justice is done. Our correspondent, Amaka Okafor, has a report on this.
The Chief Justice of Nigeria and judges from different hierarchies of courts in the country. The event was the induction for newly appointed judges of the federal and state high courts and Qadis of the Sharia Court of Appeal. To set the ball rolling, the administrator of the National Judicial Institute, Justice Roslyn Bozimo, advised the newly appointed law officers to imbibe the culture of value and integrity.
The judiciary is expected to serve as the guardian of the rule of law, the embodiment of values and integrity. Your primary duty is to interpret the law without bias, affection, or ill will. You ought to be the epitome of morality, the bastion of the rule of law, the protector of the oppressed, and the punisher of evildoers. It is against this background that the general public are deeply interested in what judges do in the temple of justice. Therefore, the need to imbibe judicial values cannot be overemphasized.
For the Chief Justice of Nigeria, however, it goes beyond an appeal. He has warned that any misconduct by judges will not go unpunished. He also asked the new law officers to ensure that they speedily dispose the cases before them.
The Nigerian judiciary is now more prepared and more poised than ever before to rid itself of all ugly darts inflicted on it by unscrupulous persons occupying judicial offices in the past. The National Judicial Council and the respective state judicial service commissions are adequately empowered to remove with ignominy any judicial officer or judicial staff that has chosen the path of dishonor, to be lazy or refuse to abide by the judicial ethics and judicial code of conduct. The code of conduct covers all aspects of judicial officers' life, both in and out of court. As new judicial officers, you are advised in your own best interest to make the code of conduct your constant companion and ever-ready guide.
These new law officers are expected to bring to use the lessons learned from this induction in the conduct of their duties to the nation. Amaka Okafor, Channels Television News.
The Edo State government has commenced recruitment of new staff into the state judiciary service. The recruitment comes amidst controversies which have trailed the prolonged strike embarked on by judiciary workers in the state, wanting financial autonomy for the state judiciary, an action which the state government describes as a show of rascality by the striking workers. When Channels Television paid a visit to the State High Court along Sapele Road, Benin City, which is the venue of the recruitment, hundreds of youths were seen scrambling to get the recruitment forms and subsequently enrolled.
The end to the face-off between the Edo State government and the judiciary workers in the state may not be in sight, as the government has already started making good its threat to fire any staff who fails to resume work, as it earlier directed. The state governor, Adams Oshomole, insists that the striking workers are going beyond their boundaries.
But the real issue for me, when I say Jusun is reckless, is that how has it become the business of the servant to go into how the master administer by way of allocation, what accrues to the 3 tiers of government. That is the responsibility for the heads of the arms of government.
The workers of judiciary are not sycophants. Sorry, madam. They know because we work in the courts, we know the procedures when it comes to issue of strike. And we have taken those steps. And to be rest assured that these gates will not be opened by any kind of threat from any quarters and anywhere.
An interesting dimension to the story is that hundreds of applicants turn up daily at the High Court premises to apply for the jobs.
I was at choice to my girlfriend that called me that she's coming to Benin, that she's going to fill form, and I said, which form is that? You know, I said to emergency call, and I said, okay, let me follow her. That is how I get the information.
I want to call on the government or those that are in charge. They should ensure that all applicants get the form. I think that is transparency and fairness. And not anybody that is successful, that is able to pass the interview, should be employed.
You can see the whole process is not actually organized, and the crowd is much, so just urging the government to do something about it, probably take it online, make it more organized, way to be more accessible for applicants like us.
This member of the striking union is around to observe activities. He talks tough on the readiness of his union for the battle ahead.
There's a judgment, and the judgment has been given since last year, 2014. If the government have anything to say, why not appeal? GIC is for to employ. That is their job. It's to enjoy if there's any person that commit any offense, is to look into the matter. You understand? GSC is not the one to fight for Edo State judiciary autonomy. We filed as JUSON, and the government was served, and a grant of judgment since 2014. And the government they know that we are wrong. Why not appeal the matter?
Many of these applicants may be ignorant of events that led to the purported sack, but the hope of recruitment into the service keeps them coming. This turn of events no doubt speaks volumes on the need to create more jobs for the teeming unemployed citizens of the state.
The closing ceremony of the 25th Ordinary Session of the African Union Summit in South Africa has just ended. We'll be bringing you live feeds as well as a communique which will be coming out pretty soon from Johannesburg, South Africa. Still ahead on the news at 10, the Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode approves the dissolution of all boards of parastatals and agencies of government in the state. Join us again.